Everybody. This is Courtney Starhart, and I'm wishing you a wonderful weekend and a happy Friday. I'm here to share with you some really important information. Recently, as I've been out in the world, in social media, and everywhere here, I'm noticing how many ceremonies people are having. I want to share this important information with you, not to frighten you or to try to manipulate you, but to look out for your well being. It's important for you to understand certain pieces of information which aren't necessarily obvious at the get go. A lot of people are working with plant medicine who don't really understand exactly the nature of things. And so I want to share this information with you. If you're working with plant medicine, it's really important to find a place that's safe, that's sacred, and a trained leader. Um, this training is not something that happens overnight, and this training is not something that's easy. It's not readily available to just anyone either, because typically this training happens under the guidance of a traditional elder, um, usually a Native American elder, in the case of my training. Um, when you're in South America, there are people who are called taitas. There are all kinds of medicine people. And when you're in training, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years and years, okay? Not 3 years or 4 years, not 2 days, not 2 weeks, sometimes 10, 15, 20 years. Sorry, the light was getting in my eyes. So, when we work with plant medicine, what you need to know is that you're opening up a portal. It's important to understand this. Again, you can see on this map behind me here, this is a map of the different layers and levels of consciousness. When we work with plant medicine, we're opening up a portal that opens up a vortex, a portal into the spirit world. And this portal isn't a one-way street. It's a two-way street, just like many doors swing both ways. So it's important for you to work with someone who's trained and is able to set up a proper ceremony, because the rituals that we go through are there for your protection. So a ceremony isn't just, lighting a candle or lighting some sage. This ceremony is as an intricate, traditionally used series of rituals that allow there to be a clean energetic space. I know that this may be new information to some of you, and as I'm talking to people out here in New York, I'm realizing that people don't often have a knowledge of the spirit world. We're not given a manual, we're not given a set of guidelines. Like when you buy a car, you get an operating manual with it. Well, for millennia, we had an operating manual for spiritual practices in these mystery schools, in these esoteric traditions in Europe and in the Middle East. In Asia, also, there was specific training that was passed down from master to student. And in Native America, we kept these traditions. So here's the thing, is between the physical and the spirit world, in Greek tradition, it was known as the river Styx, right? And Persephone crossed that river into the spirit world. Well, here's the thing, is when you cross into the other world, you're susceptible to attacks from demonic entities or other entities. There's a multitude of different entities that exist between worlds and that also inhabit this world. One of the most important things in my training was to learn how to work with these entities. And again, I'm not trying to frighten you, but I want to use an example that many of us are familiar with. I think a lot of us saw the movie The Exorcist. And in this movie, a little girl, I believe, begins playing with a Ouija board. And once she starts playing with this Ouija board, it takes on kind of a life of its own. And so then these entities are able to actually come through that portal. So much like the Ouija board, when people are working with plant medicine, then they're opening up a portal into another plane that they might not know how to control. This is why in sacred ceremony we put up these protections and boundaries, because as you're crossing from this world into the next world, the spirit world, you're susceptible to attack. And this portal that's opened up can allow entities to come in from the other world. And like I said, it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street, a swinging door that goes both ways. So it's very important to understand how to work with plant medicine and how to put together a sacred ceremony. So, let's see. In traditional ceremony, these formulas that we use work with not only physical items. There's certain medicines that we use for protection. There are certain energetic boundaries that we put up. But not only are there physical things that we do, there are also mental things that we do. Again, it's important to understand this because no one is told this. And right now, there are thousands and thousands of people who are working with plant medicine who have absolutely no knowledge of any of this. And it's a little bit terrifying to me. A lot of my clients are coming to me with entities attached to them from other ceremonies that they've been to. And when I ask them about their journeys with other people, I say, was there a ceremony? Was there a ritual? Were there energetic boundaries set up? Were you instructed about how to protect yourself or what any of that means? And the answer invariably is no. These people aren't doing any specific ceremony or ritual to protect their clients as they're moving. You see on this map, they're moving through these different planes. And as you're transitioning from this world into the spirit world, then you're open to attack. So with plant medicine, we're opening up our energy body, right? And our body stays here, but our energy body, our spirit is moving into these different planes. And as it is transitioning, then it's cracked open. And so it doesn't have the same boundaries and integrity as it would typically have in the physical body. So it's very important that you're working with this medicine in a sacred way with practitioners who actually understand what the heck is going on. So, not only do you want to find a practitioner who understands how to set up these energetic boundaries, you also want to work with someone who's had the training and the personal development to know what to do. Because as you're moving into these different dimensions and these entities are interacting with you, or you're interacting with your karma, or you're trying to process whatever your personal trauma is, you need an ally. And in my tradition and my training, my elder taught me that a medicine person is like a spiritual lawyer. Okay. And what that means is that we understand the case law, right, from experience and the oral traditions that are passed on to us. We understand the case law, right? And then beyond that, we understand the code. There's also code. There are laws and regulations that apply to the spirit world that otherwise you would have no idea about if you weren't trained. So it's really important that you're working with people who understand this. So when you go to a retreat in certain places, these people have thousands and thousands of years of tradition that have been passed on to them, and they've been trained all of their lives. They're also part of this culture and this tradition, so they just kind of get this medicine. Um, let's see. So these practitioners who are really excellent at what they do, not only will they have had the training and the tradition passed on to them and the knowledge, they've also gone through their personal development. So when I see people who've been working with plant medicine for a couple months or a couple years, actually pouring ceremony, I'm terrified for the well-being of the people who are going to those ceremonies because that person doesn't have their personal integrity. They haven't done their personal work enough to actually have the strength to fight these battles. Sometimes, let me give you a concrete example. If we're in ceremony, right, and people have taken the medicine, I can sense what's going on with these people, and I can move into their kind of plant medicine dream in the spirit world with them. I can talk with them a little bit, and I can connect, and I can understand what's going on with them and be an ally. So not only do you want someone who's trained, you want someone who has the integrity and strength through personal development to be able to be your ally. Your medicine person, hopefully it's a medicine person, um, it should be trained um, and able to be your ally. It's also kind of like a spiritual bodyguard, if you think of it that way. Spiritual lawyer, spiritual bodyguard, because if you had the wherewithal to do this for yourself, you already would have done. That's why you go to someone who's a professional. So if you went to a doctor or someone who's calling themselves a doctor and you ask them about their qualifications and they said, oh yeah, no, I taught myself, it's cool, man. Me and this guy at 7-Eleven, we taught me how to do this. There's no way that you would go under the knife with that person or take any prescriptions from them. We must take this plant medicine as seriously. We must take the spiritual and psycho-spiritual health as seriously as we take our physical health. And we know perfectly well that we wouldn't go to a doctor and let them cut us open who's not got tons and tons of experience, right? And we wouldn't go to an attorney to represent us in a serious criminal matter if they didn't have tons of experience in that particular field, right? Well, traditional medicine people have years and years of training in that particular field. And if you've come from a good lineage and you have a good teacher with an uninterrupted tradition, it's like going to Harvard or going to Yale. You inherit a lot of the knowledge and the wisdom of these ancestors. So I want to encourage you all to seriously, seriously ask these questions about someone's lineage. Ask questions about where that medicine came from, right? So, if a doctor were to give you a prescription and you were to pick it up at 7-Eleven, would you feel that this was serious? Would you feel like this was safe? Now we have the equivalent of plant medicine being distributed through a network of unqualified people. And we have people dying from other substances that are going into their plant medicine that really don't belong there. The only thing that belongs in your medicine is those plants. No chemicals, no additives. Some people have this recipe that they don't want to share with you about what's in their ayahuasca. Oh, please, for God's sake, don't ever take that. It could have things that are very dangerous for you. And it's fairly common for people to mix in things like Toei, um, which gives you quite the trip, I suppose, but it's not really working in your favor. Just because you have a crazy trip and it's really intense, that does not mean that it's doing you good. That just means that you're having a crazy trip. So ask about people's lineage, just like you would want to know where your doctor went to school or where your lawyer went to law school. You want to know what school of training this medicine person has come from. Okay, that's one. Two is you want to ask about what's in the medicine. Okay, that person should be able to show you the actual plants that went into that medicine or to show you exactly how it was prepared. Next, that person needs to have done their own personal work so that they're stable enough to be able to support you should you need the help and support. Next, anyone who's actively engaged in drugs, such as crack, heroin, meth, or any of those substances, should never, ever, ever be working with sacred plant medicine. Because, as I said, when we make ceremony, the ceremony needs to have a protected energetic space. We're opening up a portal, as I said. When we're moving between the physical world and the spirit world, you're opening up a portal. When you're transitioning and that portal is opened, you are susceptible to all kinds of entities. And of course, you don't know about this. You need to learn about it if you're going to work with plant medicine. So if someone is actively engaged in drug use, not only can they not hold the integrity of that energetic space for you, they also become a portal themselves for these entities. And it's really important for you to understand that it's not okay for anyone actively using drugs to be preparing plant medicine or administering plant medicine. In dozens and dozens of cases in the United States, we have people at very well-known establishments who are on drugs while preparing the plant medicine and who are actually actively engaged in using drugs during ceremony. Dropped my notes here. Those people actually become portals themselves for demonic entities. Not only are you susceptible because they're not able to hold the integrity of a sacred container for you, they themselves become a channel for demonic entities. Okay? So it's really, really important for you to make sure that you're going to a safe and sacred ceremony. And the person who's responsible for creating that safe and sacred space is the most important piece of everything. After that, then the plant medicine is the next important. I also want to point out to you that in many of these, what they want to call ceremonies, they're piling people on top of one another on beds or on yoga mats. So let's talk about your energy body, okay? Right? Your energy body typically is about as big as, you can't see both of my hands, but about as big as, that Da Vinci painting with the guy with his hands out. Your energy body is about that big, okay? When you take plant medicine, as I said, it opens up the energy body. It makes it bigger. It opens the heart chakra. But as I said, it's opened. So if you're placed on a yoga mat, like right next to Bob or Sue or Joe, then you're actually picking up on their energy body. Your energy bodies are meshing and you're picking up their stuff, so to speak. So it's really, really important for you to also have this space in ceremony so that you're not picking up other people's junk. You're not going to ceremony to pick up other people's junk. You're going to ceremony to get rid of your junk, okay? So you also want to ask people, how much space will I have? What kind of accommodations? Will I be able to go outside? A lot of times when people are journeying, they have the need to connect with nature. They have the need to go outside. They have the need to move around. And of course, everyone's different. My preference in our ceremonies, of course, is that someone lays down and they don't move about. But invariably, when someone is having this journey, they want to move around, connect with things. So you also need to be able to find a space where there's enough support and assistance so that someone can accompany you if or when you need to go outside or if or when you need to purge. That the person who's in charge of that sacred ceremony, that medicine person, needs to be dealing with negotiations in the spirit world. As I said, a true medicine person is like a spiritual attorney. They're going to be arguing on your behalf with these spirits. They're going to be defending you. They're going to be helping you process energetically and in the spirit world. They can't be constantly distracted by having to run around with Bob and Sue and Joe trying to babysit them. So you also want to make sure that these people are providing you with the support that you need. So, price. Everyone wants to talk about the cost of ayahuasca ceremony. People believe, and I see these posts on the internet, oh, I can just get ayahuasca for $50. Or I can go to Peru and I can have a ceremony for $100. Or I can go to Costa Rica and I can do 7 ceremonies in a row. Oh my God, all of these things are such bad ideas. It keeps me up at night thinking about how much danger you're in. You get what you pay for. So you don't want to try to be cheap with your spiritual well-being. Just like you understand that a good attorney or a good physician is going to cost money, you're making an investment into your personal well-being. Don't even think about trying to be cheap. Here's what happens. When you go to a proper ceremony, this is the way we do it, for example. You have accommodations taken care of. You have ayahuasca appropriate food taken care of. You have a fairly luxurious, comfortable, beautiful setting in nature taken care of. This costs money. Having an appropriate apprentice or an appropriate support staff also costs money. So you do get what you pay for. I also don't believe that it's necessary to do journey after journey after journey. And I believe actually that there are diminishing returns. So the ideal thing is for you to actually have one really good journey and then spend the next few weeks or few months processing this. It's not something that you can integrate overnight. And piling more and more and more stuff on top of the original journey is only going to muddy the waters and confuse things. So, for example, When you come to the Church of the Natural Law retreats, and I'm not saying we're the only good ones, I'm just giving you an example. On Friday night, we meet at 6 o'clock. We have a training. We get to know each other a little. We do talking stick circle. And then we move on to combo, frog medicine. You can see here on my shoulder this series of little dots and scars under there. This is from years and years of doing combo myself before I even administered it to anyone else. Saturday morning, we do training, we do yoga, we do all kinds of breath work, we do sound baths, and we do more and more training. We're preparing people step by step, gently and smoothly to work their way into the spirit world. It's really important that you have the proper support and training. This is your mental, emotional, spiritual well being at stake. It's not a time to be cheap or try to pinch pennies. It's a time for you to treat yourself with all of the luxury and all of the decadence and all of the wonder that you can possibly muster. Saturday night, when we've established this ceremonial container all together, by the way, we all use the power of all of our minds. And I, as the ceremonial leader, am holding this energetic space so that people can be safe, so that we're in a protected vehicle moving up the planes into the spirit world. You're safe and you're in the light. And if there are any entities that are trying to interfere with your journey, they're taken care of with ceremonial objects, with ceremonial music, with ceremonial offerings. Okay. It's very important that someone knows what they're doing and that they can sense what's going on. My elder explained it like this: taking plant medicine together is a little bit like taking a group of kids to the zoo. Basically, what happens is some people might go to see the monkeys, some people might go see the alligators, but I'm the driver of the school bus. And when we get down off of the school bus and go to the spirit world or the cosmic zoo, right? You want to have someone who's looking out for you and has an idea. If you're about to put your hand in the alligator pen and get it ripped off, you want someone to go, no, 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 Bob, no, don't do that. That's dangerous, right? You want to have someone who is already anticipating and understanding what you're going through. So if your ceremonial leader walks out of that space and actually is not paying attention to what's going on, like they leave the zoo, how do they know that you're safe or that you're having a beneficial ceremony? So we stay right there with you. My apprentices, my assistants who are well trained and experienced are also there with you, and you're in a safe and beautiful space energetically. Furthermore, on Sunday morning, when everyone's been journeying all night long, we go through talking stick integration. And this is also super important because when we're at the zoo together, Bob may have gone over here to see the monkeys and Sue may have gone to see the polar bears, but we're all kind of gathering information about this cosmic zoo. And some of the messages that the other people get may be very important for you. We're not going it alone. We really recommend against anyone ever working with plant medicine alone because should you be the victim of a psychic or a demonic attack, you have no way to defend yourself. In fact, you may not even know that it's happening. Remember those stories about the Ouija board where the little girl puts the Ouija board up and then it comes back out again and it's moving around on its own? Yeah, it's like that. It's so terrifying to me that people are actually bringing these entities into this plane and they're running around and wreaking havoc. I can't even explain to you how important it is for you to not work with plant medicine alone, to work with an experienced guide, and then to also be in a sacred ceremonial space where proper integration is done. When we're done with this talking stick circle where we all share and we all benefit from each other's valor and each other's adventures, it's the best part of the ceremony. Um, when we're done with that part, we literally close up the ceremonial space. We make sure that everyone's energy body is in its integrity before we send them home. And we bless them up and we give them contact information. We give them more and more access to different classes and trainings online. They have access to our community every Thursday night with me, not with an untrained individual who thinks they know what they're doing. You have access to me, the ceremonial leader, the head of the church, on Thursdays. Very infrequently will I have my assistant do it, but it'll always be the highest ranking assistant with the most knowledge and experience if I can't be present. So the best part also is when we do the add-on. We offer an add-on on Sunday evening where you get to get some rest on Sunday. You get to get some sleep. You've been journeying. You've really exerted yourself, and it's time for some rest in a safe space without driving, without flying, without going anywhere. You want to get that rest and reground yourself and pull all of that energy and all of that beauty, that light and your spirit back into your body and be well grounded out, okay? Then we do a tiny, tiny little microdose of mycelium, which opens that door just a little bit again so that you can kind of cultivate any more knowledge and any more of those experiences that you had in the spirit world and really bring it in and pull it into your heart. It also gives us a second to be with each other. We have an actual meal, we have a solid meal, and we look at the stars and we laugh and we listen to music and we do tarot readings and we really, really support each other. It may be one of the most important things, that Sunday night integration. And then we spend the night, and again, the people who stayed for the add-on day are in much better shape to go home, and it's just a wonderful experience. So, people, let me look at my notes and make sure that I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Yep, I think I have covered everything. I would like to wish you a wonderful weekend. We do have ceremonies coming up both in New Mexico and in New York. We only work with 10 to 15 people at a time. I refuse to work with anything more than that because I'm just not able to really attend to people the way I love to attend to them. Myself, when I worked in the restaurant business, I always loved fine dining. I love five-star resorts. I love, high class food, high class everything. And it's important that you give yourself that type of experience. So, wishing you a wonderful weekend coming up in New Mexico, coming up in New York. We have retreats. You can always go to Church of the Natural Law and find out more. Okay, lots of love to everyone. Bye for now.